Hai semuanya, hai, good evening. Selamat malam untuk semuanya. Apa kabar? Oke, kita ketemu lagi di hari kedua. Oke, so before I invite Mr. Janis, I will invite first our FFG founder because this program was conducted by the FFG community. So let's join with us and welcome our FFG founder, Bapak Onggi Hianata.
Hello, Eileen. How are
Halo
you?
Pak Onggi, I'm good and great.
Yeah, and thank you for this opportunity. Let's start again today with new lesson about blockchain. I believe we will learn more from Janice for this fantastic technology. Okay, just sharing before Janice. Okay, I want to say hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, global citizen. Okay, happy to meet you here, even through this Zoom. Okay, one day after this COVID, I believe we can travel around the world to meet you in your country. Okay, and or you come to Indonesia. So before Janice continue, like Janice shared yesterday, blockchain is not only talking about crypto. A lot of misunderstanding in the society, in the market, when people talking about blockchain and directly they connect to the cryptocurrency or Bitcoin. Actually, like Janice say, there is no Bitcoin without blockchain, and Bitcoin make the blockchain become popular. Okay, actually, the purpose of this event actually for us to understand more regarding this technology, like Janice shared yesterday, that we cannot avoid the technology, like we cannot avoid internet in 1990 something. At the beginning, when internet launched, people say, I don't need internet. Some people say, I don't need internet. But today, if you cannot say, I don't need internet. Like, for example, when you live in Jakarta, if you go in the mall, now you need the internet to check whether the COVID information of you is okay or not, and so on. Even you traveling all over the world today, you need the internet today. Okay, am I correct? So before Janice continue, I share with you my personal, a little bit personal experience at the beginning of maybe, I think last month. I was in Miami to attend this blockchain information technology, and actually blow my mind. Okay, I will share a little bit this video on this shot before Janice continue. Actually, it's true. Many companies and many actually government also adopt this technology. Let's see, this is about 400 more companies that adopted this only in this event. Okay, I show you this. Yeah, please enjoy this video. This is Bitcoin conference 2022, happened in Miami. This is the last day. Most of the people already go out to the party on the beach. Now this room almost empty. Actually, this is the both new company based on blockchain concept business. So that's why I believe blockchain is the future. Now with this kind of technology for the solution. Okay, the blockchain technology. Okay, this all both come from different country in the world. Okay, you see this room already empty. Actually, the day before, full of people in this room. A lot of people come from all over the world to this conference. This is the booth that the company represents, and they sell their product, they introduce their company, so many. Okay, including over there is the mining company over there. This event actually is a quite big event according to the EO. There is 35,000 people join this event. Today is the last day. Okay, this is all the company. You can see that's why blockchain is the future. Okay, so crypto is the future. Of course, we must careful also. A lot of scam over there, but the technology is correct. The technology is right, but the people sometimes is not the right people behind the company. So even connecting to the text. Okay, Bitcoin Bazaar. Yeah, that is a little bit regarding actually a lot of information that we learned during the event. So that is my sharing for today, and I go back to our fantastic MC, beautiful lady from Surabaya, Ailing.
Thank you so much, Pak Onggi, for your sharing because you are visiting in Miami. Again and again, for everyone, open your mind to receive this education, to understand more about blockchain. And again, this event, this program, nothing to do with advising or asking you to join one thing about the crypto, nothing to do with that. Just open your mind to understand more about this technology. In the future, something happen like the internet, you will already understand about blockchain itself. Okay, so after this, we will learn more and open your mind and become a student for this. And also me, I become a student to learn also to understand more about this education about blockchain from a fantastic man, Mr. Yanis Mr. Yanis Urster. So difficult to call the name because in Latvia, because he's coming from Latvia and 70 years in the finance area as traders, also fund manager, and also as a CEO of Emerald Bank. Okay, please welcome our amazing mentor for today to present the blockchain technology education, Mr. Yanis.
Yes, hello. Thank you very much. Good evening. I hope you are having good holiday so far, a good weekend. And I hope that yesterday you had something, you learned something new. And I hope today as well. Now, for today's flow, so we will not jump straight away into the finance. We'll just finish in around 15 minutes of some points that we were supposed to talk yesterday, like because yesterday we also had a question why blockchain is called blockchain, so why it's called block. So we'll just touch a little bit of how does blockchain work and why is it blockchain, and why it is said that it is so hard to fake it, as well as we will talk on some potential opportunities in various businesses, how the blockchain could be used. And after that, we will jump in to the we will jump into the to the actual finance part. Okay, and we will after that we will have questions and answers. And if you have any questions, then hopefully I will be able to answer. Okay, so just share the screen. Okay. Okay, so everyone can see the screen? Okay, well, I hope that everyone can see the screen. So let's just jump into it, so we don't spend too much time. So basically, yesterday also you had a question. So why it's actually why it's called blockchain? Okay, so one of the questions in the chat room was why it's called blockchain. Why block? Okay, so that we have to combine in two questions to have this answer. So basically, how does the blockchain actually works? And when we understand how does it work, then you would also understand why it's called a blockchain. Okay, so I'll give you an example. So blockchain owes its name basically to the way how the information is stored. Okay, so how the data is stored. So let's say if you would be sending an email, okay, so if you are sending just an email, you basically receive one email, right? So if somebody in between intercedes this in the email and change something, okay, so if I would be sending email to any of you, and let's say a hacker would get this email first, and then they would change some information within this email, then neither you or me would have any idea that the email is changed. Okay, so obviously I would not know what you are reading, and you would not know is the actual message that I sent the same message that I receive that I send is the same message that you receive. Okay, so so how does the blockchain work? So as the number of the transaction goes, okay, so also the blocks grow. Okay, so basically what does that mean? That each block, okay, so this message block, it contains a hash. So hash is a digital fingerprint or a unique identifier. Also, it has a timestamp, batch, as well as the recent valid transaction number. Okay, and this whole generates one block. So as you can see also on your screen, so you have the block hash. It's a bit technical, but just bear with me because that unfortunately there is no other way to explain. So it's you have the block hash, so unique number. Okay, so the two block hashes will never be the same. So you will have the unique number when it comes to the block hash. So that will be start of your block. Also, in the current block, you will have the previous block hash number. Okay, so you will have the previous block hash number. You will have the transaction number, so the unique transaction number, and then also transaction hash. Okay, so this information forms one block. So as you can see in example, block 1574, you have the block hash, previous block hash, transaction, and the transaction hash. Okay, so that forms a block. Now, that means if somebody would want to interfere with a blockchain, doesn't matter if it's a financial transaction, if it's information transfer, it could be any, because as yesterday we learned, it can be any type of transaction can be passed through blockchain. So it doesn't have to be financial transaction. It can be any type of transaction that can be passed through blockchain. That means that essentially it serves as a database. So normally, if you would go on the internet database, okay, so a good example would be let's say, I don't know if you are watching movies, but let's say if you have watched movies Suits on Netflix, you can watch a movie Suits. So it's a TV series about lawyers, okay, which one of the lawyers, it just popped into my head, but for me, it's a good example. So if you have watched, then you will also understand. So it's one of the lawyers who had actually never passed a bar. So never has the bar exam. So what did he do? So he, with his IT colleagues, so they hacked a Harvard database, and they just put his name inside the bar association. Okay, so technically, if we are working just with the internet systems, with the internet databases, at this moment, at any time, any hacker can hack into the database. They can add information, or they can take out information. Okay, so let me give you an example. Okay, so let's say in Indonesia, you have the database of let's say OJK registered companies. Okay, so a hacker could just hack in this database, and they could add another name of the company, and nobody would know. And that's a fact. Nobody would know. Or let's say somebody can add information on Wikipedia that would not be entirely adequate or true, and again, nobody would know. But by using a blockchain, okay, so if somebody adds a new information, they would have to duplicate all the previous blocks as well. So let's say, like in this example, block 1574. So if you want to add information in a block 1574, that means you have to replicate all the previous blocks. Okay, so that's why it's said that it is not completely impossible to hack blockchain, but it's virtually impossible, because that would mean that you would have to change the information on all the previous blocks as well. So obviously, if you would have to, let's say at this moment, some of the networks blockchain has been operating for a while. So imagine if you would have to change the information on 20 million blocks. Okay, how long would that take to change the information? Because that means you would have to change on every single block, you would have to change the information. That would take very long time. So before that would be done, obviously authorities or any regulatory bodies or any overseer would notice that. Okay, but just on internet database, just to change the information, it could take months, weeks, years, hours, days. We don't know how long it would take for actual overseer to notice the change. So let's say, if we are being honest, so because many of you are in Indonesia, so let's say those of you who are in Indonesia, let's say how long do you think it would take for OJK to notice that there is one more company added in their internet database? I think as long as there would not be complaints from any consumer, I think they would not notice. And that's not about on Indonesia only. That's about any. UK, it could be FCA. In America, it could be NFA or SEC, anything. So how long do you think? I think it would take a very, very long time if they would notice in the first place without somebody complaining. So I hope you would agree with that. But with the blockchain technology, so by utilizing this database on the blockchain, it would be virtually impossible for them to do that. Okay, so, and that comes not only to authority, that would come to every single business. Okay, so let's say if you are a financial business, okay, so, or if you are a shop and you have a centralized finance department, okay, and let's say your branch from Surabaya, let's say somebody hacks the database and change the information that the branch from Surabaya has not paid for some goods. So that means that the headquarters from Jakarta would be making double payments for these goods. Or let's say they change the account number in your database. Okay, so if there is and that has happened before. It has happened before that in a financial services bank accounts, names have been changed, and the money flows to other people. While in a blockchain, if again, so not in a crypto, but in blockchain, if all database would be in blockchain, it would be virtually impossible. Does that make sense? So, and because it's split into blocks, hence the name blockchain. Okay, and so that's why blocks. And why chain? Because each of the links, so each of the blocks are connected. So you cannot just change one block. You would have to change every single block before that. Does that make sense a little bit? Okay. So once you know in very basic terms how does the blockchain works, okay, and why it's actually blocks. So the question is why blockchain is suitable for business. Okay, so why it's not suitable only for authorities, let's say. So why it is suitable for actual business that we would be doing on an everyday basis. So instead of having a blockchain that relies on the exchange of the cryptocurrencies with anonymous users, okay, so that is one way how the blockchain could operate with anonymous users, okay, on a public network. Then you could have a blockchain for a business with private permission network. Okay, so again, not every blockchain is the same. So as before the end of the yesterday's session, we discussed that there are permission and permissionless. Okay, so you have the public blockchain that would be used, let's say, through public crypto exchanges. So they use public blockchain. But then for businesses, you would actually have a private permission network, okay, which would identify and it obviously there would not be any need for the cryptocurrencies. And then you would understand what is included in this private business network. Okay, so as yesterday we discussed what is actually blockchain. So blockchain is simply a business network. So each business particularly could actually build a private business network for them. Okay, so each business maybe in the future, if everything goes as we are planning, that each business could have their own blockchain. Okay, so I think sooner or later that will happen. Okay, so in this business blockchain, which would be permission, okay, so you would have a private permission. It would not be a public ledger. So you would have a shared ledger. So in this business network, you would have a shared ledger. Okay, so it would distribute, is for distribution purposes, okay, of record sharing across this business network. So only participants of this business network would actually be able to see the ledger. So you would have permissions, okay, and let's say FFG community very easily could build their own blockchain with this type of idea, and many other businesses definitely could. So you would have permissions. So you would ensure appropriate visibility. So that means different parties, as yesterday we discussed. So different parties maybe would have different type of visibility. So let's say you would have a general visibility that all of the members can have the same visibility. Then you would have the authority visibility that not everyone should view all the private data on a blockchain. So that has been a very big topic when it comes to blockchain. Okay, and all the transactions would be secured. So nobody outside of your network would see any transactions. All of the transactions would be authenticated through the blockchain. So again, nobody would be able to fake the transaction because all the participants are authenticating also the transactions, and they are verifiable. So if at any time the previous block, and you would obviously notice it straight away, because then If one of the blocks is broken, whole blockchain is broken, and as we discussed yesterday, so it has to repair the previous block and include in a next transaction. Okay, so you would definitely see the error straight away. So it would not take 3 days or 1 week or a month or a few hours. You would see errors at exactly same time, so straight away. So all the transactions would be verifiable and authenticated straight away. So also, you would have a smart contract. So business network would have a smart contract. So it would be basically an agreement, business terms that as long as you are on a network, you have agreed upon. So a smart contract is business terms embedded in a transaction database and executed with each transaction. So if every business would move to blockchain, which many businesses are, but obviously it will take years. Let's say, like I mentioned yesterday, like my business in financial sector is moving onto blockchain, not in terms as in cryptocurrencies, but actually like contract signing and so on. That would mean that a person, so you would not be making individual agreements anymore. So if you would be utilizing smart contracts, that means you would never have to print a piece of paper again. Okay, so because every single agreement would be embedded already in your blockchain. So as long as you are working with customers and clients, so everything would be embedded already in a blockchain. So that means if you are looking for the future of the world and natural resources, so by utilizing a blockchain, that would mean we would never have to print a piece of paper again because the contract would be automatic. So you'd have all your business terms embedded in a transaction database and executed with a transaction. Imagine how many agreements are wasted. Okay, so how does the normal business practice works? So you sign agreement between the parties, buyer and seller. After you sign agreement, you do the transaction, right? So and that's the normal transaction. That's how most of the transactions would work. Okay, so but that still means that when you sign agreement, it doesn't mean 100% that you will have successful transaction, right? Like I don't know in your business, but I'm pretty sure most of you, if you have done any type of transaction, that means you have also done agreements. Okay, so let's say if you purchase something or you are looking to purchase something, let's say if you want to purchase a house or a car, you sign agreement first, correct? So let's say if you are a real estate agent, okay, I don't know if any of you are real estate agents, but let's say if you are a real estate agent, so you are not asking your client straight away to wire the money. You're asking your client to sign agreement, right? Does that mean once the client is signing agreement that the transaction is 100% guaranteed? No, it doesn't. So what does that mean? That means that you have wasted time as well as you have wasted money and resources to prepare this agreement. While if you would be operating on a blockchain, the agreement would be automatically done while doing the transaction. So that means agreement and smart contract would only be executed if the transaction is done. So that means there would not be any wasted time, wasted activity, or wasted resources anymore. Because it would be only executed if there is transaction. If there is no transaction, then there would not be agreement. Okay? And then you would have consensus, because obviously to be a part of this network, so all parties agree and every single participant is also verifying the transactions. So it means you don't need an outside party technically to verify transactions, because for you to fake the transaction, that would mean that you have to interfere with every single participant of the network. It's not enough that you are just interfering with one party. You have to interfere with every single network participant. And let's be honest, people in this world, they don't see eye to eye. So it would be impossible to convince every single person on this network to agree with you. As long as you have two people in a room, you will have two different opinions. So you can only have one opinion if you only have one person in the room. So that's the same thing when it comes to network. So when it comes to this network, as long as every single party, so every single participant is verifying, this network is going to be safe. Because it is literally impossible to collude with every single network participant. Does that make sense? Okay, so during yesterday and also today, we have been talking a lot about these participants. So you might have a question. So who actually is the network participant in the blockchain network or this future business network? Okay, so basically, what you have is you have a blockchain user. So the first participant is a blockchain user, or you would also say it's a business user. Okay, so it would have permission to join the blockchain network and conduct transactions with other network participants. Okay, so blockchain technology would operate in the background. So the blockchain user has no awareness on it actually. Okay, so you don't need any specific technological wisdom to operate on a blockchain technology as a business user. Okay, and there typically would be multiple users on any business blockchain network. Then another party of this network would be a regulator. Okay, so it would be a blockchain. So when I mean regulator, I don't mean that it has to be authority. So it could be authority in some businesses, but it also could be a different type of regulator in the different businesses. So a regulator is a blockchain user with special permission to oversee the transactions happening within the network. So regulators might be prohibited from conducting their own transactions. So because today we are talking more about finance, so let's say on a financial blockchain network, this regulator could be a compliance officer. Okay, so a compliance officer would be also part of this blockchain network. So they would have a permission to oversee and see all the transactions done on the network. However, they would be prohibited to do their own transactions. Okay, so directly, straight away, the blockchain, so they would be blocked from doing their own transactions, but they would be oversee every other transaction. So that would be in a finance industry, that would be your compliance officer. Okay, but technically it could be any other regulator. It could be authority, it could be compliance officer, it could be risk department. So depending what type of network are we talking. Okay, so maybe in sales business it could be somebody else. Maybe it would be let's say in on a sales network, maybe a regulator could be a sales team leader. Okay, so a sales team leader would oversee all of the transactions done on this business network. However, the sales team leader would be prohibited to do his own transactions on this network in order to eliminate any conflicts of interest. Okay, so that's how it would work in sales. Also, you would have a blockchain developer. So blockchain developers basically are programmers who create the applications and smart contracts that enable blockchain users to conduct transactions on a blockchain network. So application serves as a conduct between users and blockchain. So now in a standard platform, so standard internet platforms, basically programmers and developers, they work in a backside, on a back end, right? And to be honest, we as users have no idea what are they doing. But on a blockchain, the developer would be also part of the network. Okay. Also, Paongi asked me today about the presentation. So what we're gonna do maybe over the week and the week after, we're gonna prepare like notes for you. So it would be, so instead of we have to share the presentation with you, we can take the keynotes. So if you had some issues or delays and you were not able to take the notes, because I see some of you are writing, so maybe if it goes too quick, then we will pass notes to FFG community, and maybe if you have inquiries, then they can distribute to you. So maybe that would work better. Because of course you can. It's always good to take your own notes, because you have better memory if you are taking notes yourself with a hand. But just because we are quite packed for time, so we will prepare the general notes and we will pass to FFG community, and then if you are interested, then they would be able to distribute to you. So in no mean I mean that you don't have to keep taking notes at this moment. So you still can take your notes, just for your knowledge. Okay, so when we go back to our slides, so another participant would be blockchain network operator. So blockchain network operators would be individuals who have special permissions and authority to define, create, manage, and monitor the blockchain network. Okay, so each business on a blockchain network has their own blockchain operator. Okay, so each business could define what would be blockchain operator for them. Then also you would have a traditional processing platform. Okay, so it would be existing computer systems, because what we see online now, so let's say to give you example, so there still has to be a traditional processing platform that communicates with the blockchain technology, because basically blockchain technology is not operating on a traditional internet interface. Okay, so the blockchain is not operating on the websites. So the blockchain has completely different interface. So that's why we still need a traditional processing platforms that communicates with blockchains. So it is existing computer system that may be used by the blockchain to basically communicate and to give us the information. So this system may also need to initiate requests into the blockchain. Okay, so let's say, to give you an example in a real world, if you would be going on, let's say, because many of you are from Indonesia, so let's say if you would be going on Indodax and you would purchase any type of digital asset, it does not mean that you are going on blockchain and purchasing this digital asset. Basically, what you are doing is you are going on a traditional processing platform that communicates with blockchain, pass the information to a blockchain, and then you have the execution. Okay, so that would be the traditional processing platform. Also, part of the network would be traditional data sources. Okay, those would be existing data systems that may provide data to influence behavior of smart contracts and help to define how communication and data transfers will occur. Okay, so that would be via APIs. So that's a bit technical. So again, so you need the traditional data sources. So let's say the smart contract is executed on a blockchain, but us being human beings, maybe we still want to read this smart contract. So that means we still need a traditional data source that would actually extract this smart contract into readable material. Okay, so basically, I don't think that in our lifetime we will be able to operate on blockchain alone. So I think in our lifetime we will need operate on the blockchain, but we will need a traditional data sources as well as the traditional processing platforms to communicate with the blockchain and then communicate to us. But maybe our kids or our grandkids, they will have time that they will be able to operate more direct with blockchain. Okay, because we have to remember one thing. Only in our lifetime we had the biggest innovation in the world, which was internet, and all the traditional platforms are built on internet. And then also in our lifetime we have even bigger innovation, which is blockchain. So obviously all these businesses have to they won't scrap their traditional processing programs. Okay, so instead what they're going to do is they will learn how to integrate them with a blockchain. Okay, so if that makes sense. And the last participant of the network would be certificate authority. So that would be an individual or a company who issues and manages the different types of certificates that are required to run a permissioned blockchain. Example that could be a certificate that need to be issued to blockchain users or to individual transactions. So any type of certificates. Okay, so any type of certificate needed. So you would have the you would have this certificate authority. Okay. So and now before we move into finance, so let's just discuss how different type of businesses could potentially be enhanced with blockchain. Okay, so first of all, we have to understand that global trade has been the single greatest creator of wealth in a human history. So global trade at this moment is creating huge wealth, and the market friction is the greatest obstacle of this wealth. Okay, so what does the market friction means is that it means that it's genuinely not that easy to do business globally. Okay, so I know you have global business network, but I don't particularly know the story, how you started your global network and what obstacles you had in different countries. But I'm pretty sure if we would have this discussion with all of you, then you would openly say that it was not easy. Okay, so I'm sure. So I will take the leap and I will say that I'm sure it was not easy for you to develop this global network. It took you a long time. It took you time and trust to develop this network. Okay, so I hope that I'm right. Okay, so that would be the market friction. Okay, it is the market friction because you have to build trust. Now, I'm not saying that you don't trust the people that you do business, but if you would be utilizing blockchain, then technically you don't have to build trust because it would be embedded already in a network. So number one that we touched slightly yesterday is definitely that the biggest thing that the blockchain would solve and it would change, that would be the supply chain management. Okay, so a blockchain would deliver a significant value to the complex supply chains around the world. So especially nowadays, due to COVID, we have this. If you are following, especially Western media, and if you are following financial news, let's say if you follow any Fed statements, so Federal Reserves, then end of the last year and the beginning of this year, they were talking a lot about inflation. Okay, so if you're watching Bloomberg, CNBC, CNN, then I'm sure you have heard inflation, inflation, inflation. On a flip side, most of them were said, oh, this inflation is transitory because it's created by the supply chain issues. Okay, so I'm sure if you have watched any Western media at least few times, then Bloomberg or CNN or any others, then you would hear a term supply chains. Okay, everyone is talking about this supply chain issue, supply chain issue, supply chain issue. There is issues to get the supplies, semiconductors, indicators out of China. Okay, there is issue because everyone were on a lockdown and now businesses are restarting slowly and it takes time. So there is a lot of constraints on the supply chain. But if we're being honest with ourselves, we don't really know, right? None of us know. So we just have to take their word for it. We have to take their word that, yes, there is a supply chain issue. Because if I would ask you a question, do you really know? I'm pretty sure you would honestly have to say that, no, you don't. Okay, so the blockchain would deliver a significant value to these complex supply chains around the world. It would eliminate the traditional friction and it would provide entirely new degree of the transparency and trust. So next time if somebody says that there's a supply chain issue, then all of us would actually, as a participants of the business network, would be able to check, are there any supply chain issues? Now, blockchain clients would collaborate in networks and on the solution that actually would elevate the quality of any supply chain. Okay, so by utilizing the blockchain network, we technically could solve these supply chain issues. Also, the food industry. Now, food industry. So actually, finance is not the biggest industry that the blockchain solves. So supply chains and food industry is actually bigger. So according to a study that has been done by the Food Marketing Institute and Groceries Manufacturing Association in US, okay, so most of the studies are done in US, so we have to base the data based on the US studies. So according to this study, the average food recall cost to one company. Okay, so I'm not talking about a global number. I'm talking to average food recall cost to one company on average in US is $10 million. $10 million on average per one company. So I'm not talking about Nestle, that is a food giant. Okay, so their recall costs are way higher than that. We are talking on average company. So we are talking starting from medium to large scale company. So average recall cost of food is 10 million. And this 10 million does not include losses of sales, illnesses, because obviously when you are selling bad food, people will get sick, death, and damages to the brand. Okay, so if a food company, so any food company, I don't want to mention any names because that probably would not be proper, but let's say if you would have a food company You can imagine any food company in your head, and let's say they sell bad product that would result you to have a food poisoning, okay? And that would happen with you as well with 300 other people in your region, and all of you would write a complaint and then post it on internet, or maybe even would go to authority. Do you think it would cause damage to the brand or no? How do you think? Would that cause a damage to a brand or no? Yes, absolutely, definitely. It would definitely cause damage. How do they avoid? How do they? Because maybe it was not the food manufacturer fault. Maybe it was shop's fault, right? Maybe because the shop clerks are the ones responsible to restock the shelves, and they are the ones responsible to check the expiry of food, so that if the food is expired. But then also it could be that in a factory they have realized that maybe there has been some spillage, so there have been spillage of whatever substance, and it has got into food, and then they would have to recall. But it would be almost impossible based on current system to recall all this food, and that's why it cost them on average 10 million. Yes, that's correct. Negative publications, damage on branding, and if people are dying, maybe the brand can never recoup from that. So the 10 million average is not including these losses of debt and damages to the brand. Now imagine if these food companies would operate on the blockchain, then instantly they would be able to see which particular shop is still stocking on the shelves their brand products that have already been expired, or how many cans exactly they still have on each shelf that would have any type of spillage. Okay, so actually, so like I mentioned before, the finance industry is not the biggest one that the blockchain would solve. There is way bigger picture than that. So just in the food industry, so you would have a secure sharing of permission data, okay, through food supply chain solution. Okay, so you would have faster response to recall. You would have publishing and query standards. Okay, so you would have sharing and viewing standards. You would have inventory optimizing and supply chain efficiency. You would have increased transparency and awareness when it comes to sustainable and ethical practices. So I know that here in Asia, maybe it's not that important yet, but in a Western culture, the sustainability and the ethical practice is growing in importance. So people actually want to buy that. That people actually want to buy products that are sustainable and that they have the ethical practice. And it's this new era is also coming to Asia. So Asian people are way more aware than they used to be 10 years ago. Okay, so sorry. So Asian people are actually by also going into the products that have the sustainability and that has the ethical practices. So blockchain would actually solve that it would be transparent. Okay, and it also would have greater differentiation when it comes to brand trust and equality. So that would be in a food industry. Then, of course, we have the global trade benefits. Okay, so the global trade benefits, it would have fast and secure access, end-to-end supply chain information. We would have the verifiable authentication. We would have the trust across organizations and workflows, a better risk assessment. So we could develop one unanimous risk assessment. okay, and you would have far lower administrative expenses. Same thing in healthcare. So in healthcare, like we have talked also during our first session, so healthcare would definitely be solved with a blockchain, because the information, how the information would be passed from one department to another department, you would have, the healthcare industry, it has to be way more efficient. Because if you are going abroad, let's say if you are here in Asia and then you're going abroad, and if you don't have one of those giant international companies as your insurance agent, then abroad a hospital will not have your medical records whatsoever. So it will take time for you to track down your medical records, to call your doctor, to call your hospital. It could take many hours or even days to get the proper medical records. So maybe it seems not that important at this moment, but if you would be at that situation in a strange country, it would seem to be extremely important. So basically, you would have electronic medical records. So that would be shared with the medical blockchain network. Okay, so it would not be shared with any party outside the medical blockchain network, but it would be shared with medical blockchain network. So you would have benefits such as, obviously, there would not be human error, so it would be tamper resistant. So that means you would have a pure store of the medical history. So obviously, it would have a reduced time in insurance claims. So if any of you have claimed insurance, even in good hospitals, for you to check out from your hospital room might take anywhere in between 2 to 5 hours, depending how busy the insurance agencies are and how they respond. So if you would expect to go home 10 o'clock in the morning, most of the time you're going home 12 o'clock, 2 p.m., 3 p.m., or even later than that. But with the blockchain, you would reduce this time because all the information would be available straight away. And you would have the complete patient medical history processed anywhere in the world. Also, your drug recommendations. So if you're going to different countries have different drugs. So the doctor would know what medicine are you taking in your country. Another area, apart from finance, where the blockchain would be very helpful would be media and entertainment. Okay, so the benefits in media of the blockchain technology would be streamlining media, planning, finance, execution. You would have advertising transparency. Okay, so you would have people would have a control. So there are a lot of sectors generally across the board that would benefit from blockchain technology. Okay, so it's a lot more than cryptocurrency. It's a lot more than finance. So basically, any single business that has anything to do with transactions, any type of transactions, information transactions, money transactions, financial transactions, IP transactions, any type sales, anything that has to do with transactions and transfers of any type of things would benefit from blockchain technology. Okay, so, and let's be honest, almost every single business, if not any business, deals with any one or another type of transactions. Okay, so that would mean that there is a huge benefits of blockchain in all of the business industries. Okay, now we will not touch. We have touched few of the other businesses, but we will not go in depth of the other industries, because, well, number one, I'm not professional in other industries, so if we would have to talk about the blockchain adoption in, let's say, food industry, then maybe we would your community should invite a food industry professional. So we will dedicate the rest of our hour, 45 minutes, 1 hour before we go into questions and answers. We will dedicate to blockchain adoption in financial sector, and how actually blockchain could be adapted and how it could help financial sector. And again, even though, of course, when we talk about blockchain in financial sector, we have to talk a little bit also about cryptocurrencies, but in no instance, when we're gonna be talking about any cryptocurrencies, it's a suggestion or invitation or any type of recommendation that you should purchase any of the cryptocurrencies. So that is only for information purposes, just because it would be unfair if we are talking about blockchain in finance and we are not mentioning cryptocurrencies at all, because that is also part of the financial sector. Okay, so just a little disclaimer: if you hear any names of cryptocurrencies, it should not be taken as a suggestion that you should purchase any of those. Even though I will try to avoid to mention any cryptocurrencies, of course, but in some aspects it would be almost impossible to without mentioning any of them. Okay. Now, first of all, why yesterday we said that yes, there would not be Bitcoin without blockchain, because that is true. But also, we most likely would not be talking about blockchain in finance without Bitcoin, not because the Bitcoin is so amazing and is making money for people or losing money for people, not because of that, but because it emerged. Okay, so it emerged and it made blockchain known to people. Okay, so it would be similar as a car, I would say. So let's say Ford. So Ford made was one of the first companies that made a car for retail population, for a public. Okay, so most of the people did not know what is a car, but they knew what is Ford. Okay, and in Germany, Volkswagen. Okay, so Volkswagen, a people's car. So not many people did not know what is car, but they knew what is Volkswagen. Okay, so there has always been in any industry, and even in countries. So let's say here in Indonesia, if you would go abroad, many people don't know where is Indonesia, but almost any person in the world know where is Bali. Okay, so again, we cannot talk about Bali without mentioning Indonesia, but it is in abroad. Okay, so let's say in Europe, it would be an identification of Indonesia. Okay, so that would be the same thing of the Bitcoin and blockchain. So Bitcoin is not blockchain, but Bitcoin was that that tool, that advertisement necessary to make blockchain popular. Okay, so the emergence of the Bitcoin solution that actually launched in 2009 by, again, we can only speculate, by mysterious person or by mysterious group that we only know as Satoshi Nakamoto. So that was actually a huge impact on the blockchain. Okay, so why? Because it was cost effective. Okay, so, and it was cost effective because it eliminates the need of intermediaries. So many people, especially nowadays also, they think that to transfer any type of digital asset, you from one wallet to another wallet, you need an exchange, but actually you don't. Okay, so you don't need an exchange to transfer that. So it was cost effective, it was efficient, and the transaction information was recorded. So that means you could not fake it. And also because it was safe and secure. So the underlying ledger, which is available to anyone participating on the Bitcoin network. So it was available to anyone and you could not tamper with it. Okay, so because of these three main reasons, Bitcoin became popular. So actually, initially, it had nothing to do that what we hear now, that influencers, YouTubers are pushing you to buy some digital assets and promise that you will get rich, that you will have 10x gains, 100x gains, 20,000x gains, 1 millionx gains in matter of hours, days, or weeks, or years. That was not the underlying reason why Bitcoin was developed. Okay, the Bitcoin was developed simply for these three reasons: cost efficiency, safety, and security. That's it. These three were the main reasons. It had nothing to do with growing your value and making never before seen gains. Okay, unfortunately, people made it that way. So again, because as I remember yesterday, we had a question: does the technology has any risks? So technically, the idea of Bitcoin also did not have any risks. But when you have people adopting technology and adopting something, then you have risks. Let's put it in perspective. Does car has a risk? Is it risky to have a car? I would say genuinely no. But you give a car to a wrong person, and then that person could kill many people because he get in an accident. And that we could say about any technology in the world. So genuinely, any technology does not have any risks. But the technology in the wrong people's hands suddenly becomes risky. So a car, when you take a car to pick up your kids from school and to buy groceries, it is not very risky agenda, right? But if you are drinking like a crazy person on Friday night in a city of New York or Jakarta or Bangkok or anywhere, doesn't matter where, you get out of the club and you don't understand what you do, and then 5 o'clock in the morning you go and you hit a bus stop and you kill 20 people or 10 people or 5 people or one person, then suddenly car becomes risky. You could have the same car as the mom did. It's not because the car is risky, it's because the person behind the wheel is taking more risk than necessary. So again, maybe that's my opinion, but in my opinion, none of the technologies are risky. It's just depending what people are driving the technology, are operating the technology. Okay, so just something to think for us, that how people took an amazing tool like Bitcoin that was supposed to be just a tool, and they turn it into something that is basically a synonym for greedy people. Okay, so again, of course, everyone wants to make money, but that was not the underlying idea why the Bitcoin was made, actually. Okay, so basically Bitcoin made the blockchain famous, and that's why the finance industries actually started to look into blockchain. So financial industries were actually the first industries that started to look into blockchain and blockchain adoption because the Bitcoin was made as a financial tool, okay, as a transaction tool. But then, of course, while everyone understood what is actually blockchain, what is and how it could be used in the future, then we saw that, oh, wow, the blockchain technology can be used in other businesses, not only in finance. Okay, so when we gonna go step by step in different financial aspects, how we can use blockchain, I would just like to talk about the aspect of blockchain, because technically blockchain is, as we have discussed in this past 2 days, is peer-to-peer transactions. Okay, and why peer-to-peer transactions are important? Okay, so imagine if you are, so I'm sure all of you have bought something online. Okay, so those of you in Indonesia, probably you have bought something from Tokopedia or from other country. I'm pretty sure you have bought something from Alibaba. Okay, so what those platforms eliminates, they eliminate the need of intermediary. Okay, so they eliminate the need of having an actual shop. So before Tokopedia, before Alibaba, every shop, they had their own online presence. Okay, but now you don't need to have online presence, because you can go and sell on Tokopedia, Alibaba, eBay, and so on. Now, how would it work in finance? Okay, so have any of you ever bought a currency, the different currency, so different countries' currency, or have any of you ever bought a stock in a stock market? So let's say if in Indonesia, maybe you have bought any stock in Indonesia stock market, Thailand, Cambodia, maybe you have bought American stocks or any stocks. So just for my knowledge, has any of you ever bought a foreign currency, maybe in money changer or in a bank? Or has any of you ever bought a stock in a stock market? So if you would be so kind, maybe you could answer in a chat room, so I just know how many of you have done it. Okay. Okay, perfect. Well, those of you who answer in the chat room, so we have 100% yes. Okay, so all of you that answered basically have bought a foreign currency or a stock. So how would it work when you buy a foreign currency? You would go to a money changer or a bank. You would give your currency, and then they would give you a foreign currency. So let's say if I am here in Indonesia, and tomorrow I would want to go to Singapore, and I want to spend Singapore dollars in Singapore, I have to go to money changer, or I have to go to bank, or I have to utilize my own debit card and take out the Singapore dollars, and then I will have a unfavorable exchange rate. Is that correct? So that means I have the need for intermediary. Or if I want to buy a stock, any stock, doesn't matter, Indonesia, Singapore, Thailand, Cambodia, US, unless you are extremely, extremely wealthy, you cannot go directly into the stock market. You have to go to the stockbroker. So you have to go to the securities companies, and they will act as an intermediary. Okay, they will act as intermediary to be able to purchase company shares. And that's why there are fees. That's why there are fees that the stockbrokers charge. Okay. Now let's imagine a world where when I go to Singapore, I don't have to go to bank. I don't have to go to money changer, but I can find a person that is in need of Indonesia rupiah because he is coming to Indonesia. So I'm going to Singapore and he's coming to Indonesia. Okay. And then we exchange. So I give him rupiah because he will need rupiah, and he gives me Singapore dollars because I need Singapore dollars. We will have way more favorable exchange rate, correct? But based on current system, that would mean that he has to trust me and I have to trust him, or we have to meet face to face. Otherwise, this exchange is impossible, right? But if we would be connected on a blockchain business network, we would make this exchange possible and it would be safe for both of us. Or let's say I want to buy a stock. Okay, so let's say I want to buy Apple shares, okay, or Amazon. So just today, just last night, Amazon announced that they will be doing stock split. Okay, so now I want to buy Amazon shares. But for me to buy Amazon shares, I have to open account in stockbroker or securities company to be able to participate in the stock market. Let's say Ibu Ailing has Amazon shares and Ibu Ailing want to sell me her Amazon shares. Is that easy for me just to buy those shares from Ibu Ailing or no? No, it's not that easy. I still need account in a stockbroker. Let's say I have issue. For instance, if I have issue to open account in a stockbroker, that means I'm not able to participate in the stock market at all. Wouldn't be a lot better if I know if Ibu Ailing has Amazon shares that I could directly buy from her and those shares would be transferred in my deed? Wouldn't it make everyone's life a lot easier? How do you think? But the current system does not allow us to do it. But the blockchain system does. So if we think deeply about it, if I want to buy shares in Nigeria stock market, is that easy for me to buy shares in Nigeria stock market? No. If I want to buy shares even in Indonesia stock market as a foreigner, is that easy for you to purchase shares in Indonesia stock market as a foreigner? No. Because you have to go through so many different hurdles first. You have to open a local stock brokerage account. If you go through foreign stock brokerage account, you have to put in at least $1 million. Local stock brokerage account treat you differently because you are foreigner. It could take you 1 month to open a stock brokerage account. If you want to purchase stocks in Singapore, you have to be accredited first by the stockbroker. And when you have opportunity, it would take you a long time to actually be able to participate. And it doesn't matter that you know a person that maybe has the shares that you want to buy, because there is no way that the person can simply just transfer those shares in your deed. But on a blockchain, you could. Same thing as for travel. I'm 100% sure that there are plenty of people that on daily basis in Singapore are buying Indonesia rupiah and that in Indonesia are buying Singapore dollars. And they have to go to money changer and money changer is charging fee. Instead of those people would be able to transact with each other. But with the blockchain, they could. So it's just something for us to think about, that it's way more than just simple adaptations what people think. So number one in a financial industry, that how the blockchain can be used is the money transfer. Okay, so the transferring money to other countries at this moment, there are quite few issues. Okay, so the challenges are basically financial institutions. Okay, so people send billions of dollars internationally each year, but the process of this transferring is very expensive. It has a lot of labor involved, and it is extremely prone to errors. Now, blockchain can change that. Now, many major banks have adopted international payments with blockchain already, okay? So some of them that we already know and that we can name are JP Morgan's, ANZ, Dukascopy, Morgan Stanley, DBS, on top of my head, those would be the banks that have already adapted blockchain technology. Now, apart from Standard Chart, yes, Standard Chart. But apart from that, it doesn't come to my head that any major Indonesian bank has adopted blockchain technology yet. Singapore would be DBS. I'm not too sure about other Asian countries, but from the big banks, that would be JP Morgan's, Standard Chart, ANZ, DBS, Switzerland. There are many banks that have adapted blockchain technology already. But many major banks are adapting it at the moment. Some of them have adapted, and plenty more will adapt more. And why? Because it saves time and it saves money. Okay. So consumers can also use blockchain money transfers to complete electronic transfers with mobile devices. Okay. And again, so when I'm talking about the blockchain money transfers, I'm not talking about cryptocurrency transfers. Okay. So I'm not talking that you should transfer cryptocurrency. I'm talking about actual money transfers via blockchain network. Okay. So consumers would be able to do that with their mobile devices. So let's say like PayPal. So when if you have ever used PayPal, to transfer money from one place to another place, you don't have to go to any physical branch. You can just use your phone. So by using blockchain technology, it would basically operate the same way. So you don't have to go to the physical branch. You would just use your mobile phone, which means that you save a lot of money. So the moment you don't need a physical building, that means institution would save a lot of money. If institution saves a lot of money, they don't have a lot of overhead costs. And if you don't have a lot of overhead costs, obviously, the end service for the end user would be way cheaper. Okay. Now, as end user, maybe it's hard to grasp, but as a business user, you would definitely grasp it. Why? Because any one of you that is doing business, any type of business, would agree that business is expensive. Okay, so depending on what type of business you are doing, you know that doing business is really expensive. So most funds move through financial institutions like banks or credit cards. Now, each of these steps that we have to take to transfer money as an institution has a lot of complexity, okay? And each of the layers also means that there are more fees involved, okay? So now the benefit of the blockchain-based transfers for merchants would be reduced fees, okay? So imagine like now for us, if you have a shop, and you want to sell people something with the credit cards, that means you need a payment machine, so a card payment machine. Okay, so you have to put a deposit for it. You would pay a certain fees on each transaction. Of course, as end consumer, maybe you don't associate with those fees, but in some shops, the consumer would be the one paying the fees. Now, if you are just operating on a blockchain network, then you don't need these electronic payment machines anymore because everything can be done on your mobile phone directly. So something similar like just paying with a QR code. Okay, so when consumers pay with credit cards, merchants actually pay the processing fees. Okay, and that cuts into companies' profits. And that's what I mean that doing business is expensive. So anytime anyone purchases something with credit card, business is actually paying fees, and that cuts into profits. Now, blockchain payments reduces or even eliminates all those fees. Okay. Also, it would eliminate inefficient funds. Okay. How many times there has been credit card frauds that people are paying money with blocked funds that have been blocked already in a card, or maybe they don't even have money in a card anymore. transactions on a blockchain network would eliminate this. So consumers sometimes pay for goods and services with a bad check. So if you issue a check, so now more and more countries are going away from the checks, but there are still plenty of businesses and industries that still accept checks. So if I issue you a check and my check bounces and I have already received goods, what happens? Blockchain solves it. So blockchain-based payments can give merchants the confidence of knowing that the transaction is good within a few seconds or minutes. So within a few seconds, you would know that the transaction is good. Okay, so the benefits of the blockchain-based transfers for individuals, not for the companies, would mean that there would be fewer scams. Okay, so let's be honest, online scams are concern for many individuals at this moment. But if you would have blockchain-based payments, okay, those transactions would be very quickly reversible. Okay, they also would be less expensive than using banking service, okay, and especially for the privacy items. So the problem, so you might ask a question, okay, so if you're saying that there would be fewer scams, then why we hear that there are so many scams in crypto? The problem is because people still don't understand how to track these payments. There are many people that understand, but unfortunately from the general population, there are far too many people that don't understand how to track these payments, okay? Once they have the knowledge, then they would have once they have the information, they would have the knowledge. And once they have the knowledge, then they would actually understand how safe it is. Okay, so you would also have less time, you would spend less time and you would spend less money. Okay, so the safest payment methods are cash, wire transfers, and cashier's checks. But cash, unfortunately, is untraceable. Okay, wire transfers are time consuming and checks can be faked and forged. Now with blockchain-based payments, all of these issues are removed. And once everyone understands, everyone could have a great confidence. Okay. So apart from money transfers, so what we could do is we could have transaction details. So money transfers aren't the only way that blockchain can revolutionize banking and financial industry. So blockchain is an excellent method of tracking transactions and ensuring accurate, secured information. Okay, so what type of information? So that would be title deeds. Okay, so title deeds, it would be a distributed ledger. It is impossible to alter, okay, making it easier to track ownership, okay, transfer of the ownership, okay, so transfer of the ownership, as the example what we talked before, if we would be trading stocks on a blockchain, then anyone could transfer the ownership to anyone in the world, which would mean that potentially emerging markets, emerging stock markets would get a lot bigger traction. Because let's be honest, somebody in America, if they would want to purchase some shares on Nigerian stock market and they are willing to spend $1,000, they would be able to purchase way more shares than on US stock market. So there's a lot of emerging stock markets would greatly, greatly benefit if we would have a blockchain inclusion in our financial system. Also smart contracts, okay? So the transactions costly, complex, and time consuming, but the blockchain would offer opportunity for the automation, okay? So as we talked before, so these smart contracts would track when buyer pays and when the seller delivers, as well as it would address any problems that would come up during the process. Now, automated systems would reduce any human error and they would work 24/7. Okay, so now basically most of the business is done during working hours, and each country has working hours differently. That's why sometimes it's very hard to do a global business. Now, by utilizing a blockchain system, we could have a global transactions and worldwide business. We would have we would have better inclusion. Just to quickly answer, is MoneyGram blockchain? No, MoneyGram is not a blockchain. Inward and outward transfer remittance is blockchain. No, that is also not blockchain. So they are utilizing digital services, but not blockchain yet. Saying that, MoneyGram is developed. So MoneyGram, Swift, Western Union, so they are developing a blockchain. So to answer your question, they're not blockchain yet, but they will be operating on blockchain in next coming 3 years. And we would have general financial inclusion. Okay, so blockchain low costs, it would give startups a chance to compete with major banks. Okay, because let's be honest, competing in financial industry with the current system, it is owned by the major banks. BlackRock, JP Morgan's, Morgan Stanley, they own 95% of the world. Okay, so for startups, there is very, very small piece of the pie. Now, many people are looking for alternative to banks because restrictions, and I'm sure many of you would agree, restrictions like minimum balance requirements, low access banking fees can be very stringent. Okay, so it can be very, you can have quite a big headache depending with which bank you are dealing. Blockchain would solve it. Okay, so blockchain could provide alternative, so that would use digital identification and mobile devices. So it would have a free, so it would be free of hassle, and you would not have to deal with traditional banking. So again, traditional banking is moving to blockchain as well, but let's say if you are in a rural area and the closest bank branch is okay, so yeah, so I'll just answer. I'll just answer the question in the chat room. So I myself transfer money to exchanger, but lost cause wrong address, and I was told that I can never recover it. So what happened? Okay, so this is when you use a middle party. So what happened is you use the middle party because you did not operate on the blockchain yourself. So you were in exchange, you input a wrong address, and then it said that you can never recover it. That's wrong. Because if you are directly on a blockchain, actually, if you input a wrong address, you can recover it. So it has happened to me in our company, ourselves, because we are obviously we have developed platform on a blockchain, so you can recover. So by inputting a wrong address, you actually can recover. So yes, it costs you a gas fee. Okay, so it costs you a gas fee because you have to reverse, but yes, you can recover. I guess. Well, I don't know which exchange, and I don't want also you to mention which exchange you were using. It's not going to be beneficial for our conversation, but well, I guess that's how customer service works. Okay, so you can there's always something that you can do. So generally on blockchain, if you would input a wrong address and then you realize that you have input the wrong address, the transaction can be reversed. Okay, so if you do everything right, then the transaction would be reversed. I know that exchanges, they say if you input a wrong address, then it's your own loss, so you are responsible to do that. That is just to make it easier for them to operate, especially for big exchanges. If they have millions of users and each user just, and let's say 100,000 of them have one mistake a day, that means they will have 100,000 inquiries a day. So it is easier for them just to say, okay, If you are wrong, that's your fault and it's irreversible. But if you would be operating directly on blockchain, if you would build a platform on the blockchain network, then actually you can recover it and you can reverse the transaction. Okay, so I'm not blaming your exchange, so don't tell them that Yanis said that they did something wrong, but technically you can recover your transaction. And also, if used properly, you would have a reduced fraud. Now, blockchain stores information on a ledger. Now, with transaction information within each block, as we learned already, so you have the hash, reference number, previous block. So that means every person within a network receives a copy. So when you receive a transaction, basically you receive a copy of the ledger. Okay, so you receive a copy of the previous transaction as well. Now, because of these features, blockchain technology is resistant and actually is very hard to do fraud on a blockchain system. It's almost impossible. And that's also what we have to talk about, the factor that there is this idea going around, which has been started by governments and big banks initially, that blockchain transactions are used for illegal activities, drugs, money laundering, ransomware, and so on. But the actual data shows that actually only 0.1% of all blockchain transactions are used for illegal activities. 0.1%. That's including drugs, that's including human trafficking, money laundering, and any other illegal activities. 0.1%. Now, it doesn't matter any country that you are living, Indonesia, Singapore, America, China, Africa, it doesn't matter. If you are being honest with yourself, and let's try this out. How many percent of cash transactions in your country do you think are used for illegal activities? Do you think it's less than 0.1% or you think it's more than 0.1%? In your own country, not globally, but just in your own country. So those of you who are in Indonesia, how do you think, how many percent of cash transactions are used for illegal things in Indonesia? Those of you in Cambodia, for Cambodia. Those of you in other countries, so you don't have to say which country, but just drop a number in a chat room. So just we have idea, how do you think, how many percent of cash transactions would be done for illegal purposes? I actually don't know the answer, but this would be just speculation. So I really don't know what would be the answer. But in my opinion, because we have 50%, 10%, more than 2%. So it. I would probably say that around, in my opinion. I promise that next time when we have meeting, I will have actual data. Okay, so I'll try to find actual data, but I would say somewhere between 10 to 20%. So that would be my assumption. Okay, because let's be honest, when people buy drugs, they mostly use cash transactions. Okay, so when people kidnap other people, then obviously they also use cash transactions. So I would say it's around 10 to 20%. Okay, so because if you are being, so while we are on this point, if you understand how does the blockchain operate, for you to do an illegal transaction on a blockchain is very stupid. Because anyone, so you don't need a bank to help you to track the money. If I transfer you money, okay, to your wallet, I can also see, if I know where to look, I can also see to which wallet after that you transfer the money. And after that, to which wallet that wallet is transferring the money. So I can track, me, myself, I can track wherever the money goes. And anyone can do, so you don't need an auditor to do that. Anyone can track it. But with a bank, if I transfer you, if I do a TT transaction, if I transfer money to you, can I check where you transfer the money? No. Yes. So we have a question, including a financial scam. Yes, including financial scam. So when the scams use blockchain, it is very easy to track where the money has been transferred. Okay, I don't mean it's within seconds, okay, but it is way easier than the banking transactions. Imagine if you are using Panama Bank. If I transfer you money to Panama, that's it. You will never get information out where this bank has transferred the money. Even FBI, if FBI would go to Panama and give them a note that they would have to surrender their transactions, they would not. Same thing with Switzerland. But the moment you do transactions on blockchain, it is freely available, so you can track where, when you transfer the funds, where they transfer the funds. So of course you only know the wallet number, but when you track it all, sooner or later, it will come out to the cache. So sooner or later, you will find out. Okay. So actually, that's why it's nonsense when people say that, blockchain is just used for scams, because no, that just means that you don't understand how does the blockchain work. Because if you really understand how the blockchain work, the last thing you would want to do is to do a scam. Is really the last thing that you want to do is do a scam. Okay. We have a question, does blockchain cooperate with a bank? Banks develop on blockchain. So there are many banks that develop on the blockchain. So what we have to understand that there is not one blockchain, okay? So there are many different blockchains, so many different business networks, and banks are developing their own business network. So yes, we could say that blockchain are cooperating with a bank per se, but again, it's not one blockchain, so the banks are building the networks. Okay. Also, I have another question. So that with this huge data, who manages and regulates the blockchain technology? So again, because there are different types of blockchain technology, so there is not one blockchain. Okay, so we have many networks. So just like Swift, like you have said, yes, Swift is managed in Belgium. Okay, so on a blockchain, this information is visible to everyone. That's why you don't need a Swift, because in a Swift you have in each bank you have a Swift room, and then the person is in charge to sending a Swift. Okay, and then you have to tick the numbers. On a blockchain, you don't need a Swift room, because this information is validated by everyone who is part on this network. That's why, as we talked within these 2 days, that there are permission network and permissionless network, okay? And then you have public network and private network, Okay, so let's say like Bitcoin is a public network. Okay, but you have the public addresses, so you don't have the names of the people, but the public information available are the addresses. But if you follow those addresses, sooner or later you will find out who is the person. So when you type in the wallets and everything, and the transaction hash, it's not gonna come out, oh, Yanis has just transferred this money. No, it will come out as this wallet number has that transferred money to this wallet. Okay, and then you can track these wallets. Okay, that's how the information is shared. So you don't have the names, so nobody has your name. Oh wow, this Elon Musk just transferred $3 billion to Jeff Bezos. No, it doesn't work like that. So you still have to do some kind of tracking. Okay, so technically that, yes, so this is very, so to answer your question in the chat, yes, it's very similar as a Swift. It's only done a lot quicker, and you don't have a general Swift room that audits all these messages, but anyone, so that you have these nodes on a network that anyone can verify that the information is correct. So in blockchain, every transaction becomes, yes, that's correct. What is Ledger? Ledger is basically, Ledger has been around for thousands of years. So Ledger is basically a data center. So, okay, so it can be piece of paper. It can be, it's a data center to keep all the information. Does that mean that no country can control the money? Depends on which network, because country could develop their own blockchain network. Okay, so if the country developed their own blockchain network, then they could control more. But on public network, that's true. Nobody can control the money. So does that mean that businesses that are not of integrity, money games type of businesses will not be able to go on blockchain, or they will avoid blockchain? Yeah, if everyone would understand, how does the blockchain operate, that would mean, yes, that those companies would not be able to operate on a blockchain. The problem nowadays is that nobody seems to understand how does the blockchain work, but everyone is buying cryptocurrency. So everyone wants to make money, but nobody wants to understand anything. So with blockchain, you said that things become transparent and valid. So no more be able to hiding any crime fund. Yes, honestly, if you utilized properly, that would be correct. Okay, so because it becomes more traceable. Okay, so just to, I will, so I remember which was the last question that answered. So we'll answer all your questions. Okay, so we'll answer all your questions and then, so just to finish up. Okay, so by using the blockchain technology, we would have the 100% information if needed. Okay, if in transparent network, in a private network. In a stock market, we would not have inside trading. So that means no company could push up the price and after that say, oh no, we were not the ones that push up the price or push down the price, because it would be traceable. So that means financial market would be way more fair. It would be really fair. Also, next of kin. Let's say if I buy some shares in a stock market and I pass away, will these shares be delivered to my next of kin, to my family member? That's a good question, right? It's not that easy. It's not that easy because you cannot just go directly to the company of which shares you bought. You have to go to the securities broker first. Okay, so so when you have the blockchain, you could have next of kin directly pre-programmed already, and you could transfer your shares within seconds. Okay, so you would be able to transfer your shares within seconds. Okay, so we will touch a little bit about cryptocurrencies. I'm not going to talk a lot. I just want to talk one thing, that there has been study done, and I'm sure that many of you know cryptocurrencies. Many of you have maybe some of you have invested in cryptocurrencies. And one fact is very sad. 98% of people don't understand the basics of Bitcoin, stablecoin, NFT, or any other cryptocurrency. 98% of people. And if we are being honest, how do you think out of the worldwide population, how many percent have invested in a cryptocurrency? Do you think it's more than 2% of population or less than 2% of population? More than 2%. Okay, so definitely more than 2%. So what we have, and this is actual study also done in United States. So if you're interested, I can send you the link later to the study and you can read yourself. So it's a study with the participants with more than 10,000 participants. Okay, with 10,000 participants that actually invest in cryptocurrencies, and 98% of them did not understand the basics. Okay, so no matter how we look at it, there are many scams out there, that's true. But unfortunately, the bottom line why people lose money is not because they get scammed. The bottom line, people lose, and people keep losing money because they put money in something that they don't understand. And they are so willingly and so rushing, and they giving their money away so quick just because some influencer said something good about next big thing on YouTube. So actually less people are losing money to scams than for the actual underlying reason that they have put money in something that they don't understand. If you have ever bought any cryptocurrency, I would ask you a question: what did you actually buy? And I can guarantee you for a fact, at least 98% of you that have bought any cryptocurrency could not answer, what did you actually buy? What do you actually own when you have this cryptocurrency? You could not answer for a fact. I'm sure that almost 100%, of course, there's going to be exception, but 98% of you have never participated in any governance meeting of the network. Because technically, when you buy a cryptocurrency, you own part of the network. So you own part of this blockchain. That means you have voting rights. That means that you have the rights to say what's going to happen with the company next. What's the way forward? By owning cryptocurrency, you own a piece of network. When you own a piece of network, that means you have rights to change something. But the problem is, people buy cryptocurrencies not because they want to own a network, but because they want to become rich quick. And that is the main reason why they lose money. Okay, so when it comes to governance and voting, so later in the notes, what we will send you during the next week, so there's going to be some explanation on the governance and on the voting over the network. So just not to take your time now in explanation. So it will be in your notes. So if your community will be so kind, then maybe after you receive your notes, if you need any follow-up meeting, maybe half an hour or so, then we can do that. Okay. So just in conclusion, I would want to say one thing. which is actually, it's been said by the Nobel Peace Prize nominee, okay, Leon Louis. Now, every informed person needs to know about Bitcoin and the blockchain, because it might be one of the world's most important developments. And that's not a financial person that said that. That's a Nobel Peace Prize nominee. Okay. Now, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I will answer the questions that I did not answer. If you have any other questions, then please let me know. Okay, so we have a question. So a company, so I'm not going to read out the name because, okay, so this company is a Bitcoin, Bitcoins in Cambodia. It talk about currency exchange. Is it a blockchain? So if it operates a cryptocurrency exchange, then it is a interface. So it is a normal interface that is communicating with a blockchain network. Okay, so again, I don't know this company myself. I can later I can ask to find out information about this company. But yes, so they would be most likely a normal cryptocurrency exchange that are communicating with the network. And cryptocurrency exchanges are good for you to buy and sell assets, but you should not keep your assets in exchange. Okay, so you exchange, you buy and sell, and then you move your assets to your personal wallet. Okay, so don't keep your assets in exchange, because exchange can fail, but the digital assets will be still in your possession. Okay, so by the time one country can create its own blockchain, the citizens obliged to use it. Unfortunately, if those would be so let's say, well, China has created their own blockchain, so they have digital yuan. Are people obliged to use it? Well, technically, they are still using paper money as well, and and the normal bank transfers. But sooner or later, yes, they will be obliged to use it. So that's why it's so important to have a public blockchain available to everyone as well. So it's a bit tough for me to talk about this in a forum, because most of you are in Asia, and and China is Asian country, so I don't really want to talk anything bad. So I will say in quote unquote, that's in my opinion. Okay, so if I'm wrong, then don't take it against me. But the reason why China banned all the public blockchain networks in cryptocurrency is due to the fact that they developed their own blockchain network for digital yuan, and they cannot allow to have their own network and the public network, worldwide network running available, because that would mean that people will have a way out from their network. So one of the ways was to ban a public network. That is actually fact, but let's leave it there. Okay, so Luna owned by the Korean. So Luna owned by the Korean. So Elon Musk lost all his money in Luna. No, I don't think Elon Musk actually had any Luna. So Elon Musk didn't lose any money, because based on information, Elon Musk did not have any Luna at all. So many people, of course, lost money. Again, we don't have to engage what was right, what was wrong, but most of the people put money there. There is a big story why they lost. So it's way more complex. So probably we would need like another 45 minutes to go all the step by steps, what really happened and why it happened. But no, I don't think that Elon Musk lost any money in Luna, because he did not hold it. Okay, so yes, I used to buy currency, buy crypto, but nothing. Understand? Yeah, so that's the problem, because it is made to look complicated. So just like with anything, we have to do some education. Okay, so again, I would not advise any of you to open account in any crypto exchange, okay, and just start buying cryptocurrencies. I think that would be foolish and that is risky. Maybe some of you would make money, maybe some of you would lose money, but it's not worthwhile. So what I would advise you instead is try to find what is and I know in your own community you probably have people that have this knowledge. Try to find what is your own personal wallet. So you open your own personal wallet that is not linked to exchange, and only then start exploring from there. Okay, so another question: how to transfer cryptocurrency to your personal wallet? So number one, you have to open your personal wallet. Without mentioning names is tough. Okay, so there are many personal wallets. Okay, so I don't want to say which one is better, which one is worse. So you can actually do the research. You can do research and look which are your own personalized wallets that are not linked to any exchanges. So there are hardware wallets. There's also online wallets. They will not be linked to any exchange. So any currency that you buy on any exchange, you can actually transfer out to your own personalized wallet. Okay, so that is no problem. So what are the benefits of blockchain for MLM? Okay, in my opinion, number one, all your genealogy, if you would have on a blockchain network, it would be accessible to you and your partners, leaders, and so on, and you would have different permissions. So probably similar like now on MLM softwares, you would have the information. Okay, you would have when somebody is making a sale, you would know it directly. Okay, without sending a WhatsApp message, without sending an email, you would know it directly. You would know the stock of any item. Okay, so if you are selling an item, I don't know in your particular MLM how it works. Like, is there an item or you have to buy item first? So I'm not too sure. But you would know a stock of the item if this item actually in stock and where is the closest location where you can get it. Okay, so there are many benefits. So stock, sales, genealogy, and many more. So you could have an actual, so you would have an actual integrated presentation, actual integrated agreement for all your clients. So that means each of your agents is doing exactly the same. So let's say you have a winning strategy. So maybe your best salesperson has a winning strategy how to do sales. In a blockchain, you could implement this strategy and every single person would have exactly same strategy, would operate with the same basics, with the same rules of engagements. Okay, so that means your network would become stronger. So these are the benefits in my opinion. So of course there could be other benefits, but those are the benefits in my opinion that come on top of my head. Yeah, so yeah, that's true about China's strategy. Yeah, that's true. Can you share the link of it with our ML link? Link of what? I'm not too clear. What link are we sharing? Because I thought initially we discussed that there is no indications of anything. So I will try to clarify later on, maybe with somebody in your community. What link are we? Is it the link to the notes? If it's linked to the notes, to this presentation notes, then yes, definitely we will share you a copy and then it can be passed further. Can you share your view of Bitcoin blockchain in the next 10 years? Okay. Well, more on blockchain. Bitcoin, I believe it's gonna stay here. It's gonna be store of value. it's hard to predict any price of Bitcoin, so I don't want to do that. But blockchain, so number one, I believe that within next 5 years, most of the financial assets will be traded on blockchain. So in my humble opinion, stock market is going to be traded on blockchain within next 3 to 5 years. Forex, foreign exchange currencies will be traded on blockchain within next 3 to 5 years. That will mean that there's going to be financial inclusion to everyone. So that's in a relatively short term. I believe that most of the large hospitals will have blockchain databases within next 10 years. I believe that most of the travel companies will be on blockchain within next 10 years. What I truly hope is that within next 10 years, there's going to be a blockchain network for international airports. That would mean if you have ever lost a baggage, okay, if you have ever lost a bag, sometimes, especially here in Indonesia, that's one bad thing about Indonesia. When they lose your bag, most of the time they cannot tell you where is your bag, in which airport, which location, because their tracking system is outdated. So I would hope that within the next 10 years, most of the international airports would be on a blockchain network. So that means if you have ever lost a bag, within minutes, you would be able and you would be notified where is your bag. So that is my view, what would happen with the blockchain in next 3 to 10 years. And like stock market and financial inclusion, I really believe that will happen within next 5 years. Regards to the medical industry, tourism, airports, I would hope it happens within next 5 years, but I don't know yet. Maybe it would take 15. So why I mentioned about travel? I mentioned about travel because let's say today, if I want to book a hotel, on Agoda, it would say that the hotel is full. In booking.com, it's still available. So the question would be, which one is it? But if they would be linked on a blockchain network, then you would know directly, are there any flights available? How many seats are available? What are the meal options? What are the hotel options? Are the hotels available or are they fully booked? So I think that's why the travel is a huge industry. Yes, so we have the closing time, but I will just answer the last 2 questions, and after that, if the questions come, so we're just gonna close up. So as for the forex trading, is predicted move to blockchain. Besides the trading costs, what it would impact in a exchange? Well, number one, it would impact the exchange rate, definitely. So forex trading, I mean, I guess we are talking about the foreign exchange, okay? So non-leveraged foreign exchange, so one currency to another. So definitely exchange rate would be way cheaper. Execution costs would be way cheaper. If we are talking about the leveraged instruments, then if it moves to, once it moves to blockchain, you don't need forex brokers anymore. The moment it moves to blockchain, that's it. You don't need forex brokers anymore because anyone can trade with anyone in the world. Okay, and then the last question, can blockchain technology be used for international shipping company? Definitely. International shipping company would definitely benefit probably the most if they would be connected to the blockchain network, because to maintain their ledger and to maintain all the goods, where they are shipping, how they are shipping, when they are received, it would definitely be extremely, extremely beneficial. So to answer your question, yes, international shipping company definitely in my opinion, they should use blockchain, but they will be using blockchain in the future 100%. Okay, now, ladies and gentlemen, we are a little bit over time, 15 minutes, so I hope it's not a big issue. So thank you very much. Unfortunately, 2 hours was not long enough to share every single thing in as deep as expected, but thank you very much for joining today. I hope that you did learn something, and I hope to see you again. Thank you. Okay, so we can go back to our moderator.
Okay, I believe Eileen has the technical issue. Yeah. Meanwhile, waiting for Eileen.
Sorry, I was talking by myself, and I'm thinking that you are listening on me. That's why when Janice said that back to moderator, I say I'm here. Why everyone not hear me? Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much for everyone. Thank you so much also Janice for all the sharing, also the education about the blockchain technologies. We in these 2 days minimum now we understand that. Bitcoin is not blockchain, but because the blockchain that Bitcoin exists. So again, thank you so much for this education for all the global people, the group people. So again, see you in the next program for the education with our FFG family. Bye.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye.